Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Woman's Prerogative on USA Global TV and Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are live streaming in over 60 countries right now. And hello to all of our friends at E360 TV, distributing us to all of the major platforms like LG, Samsung, Roku, and Amazon. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is A Woman's Prerogative. As I mentioned, we have 2 episodes of A Woman's Prerogative every week, so check the schedule, go over to our YouTube channels, and you can find out more information there. This afternoon's topic is being with emotion. And for those of you who know me, I have a process that I use when it comes to emotion, but this is not my topic. The topic was created by the star of our show, who is joining us from New Zealand. Her name, oh my God, it's Australia. I always forget it's Australia. She moved from New Zealand. I can't get it right. It's, 2 years. Anyway, her name is Mariska Dupria. She's a very good friend of mine. We've been together since 2019, broadcasting and bringing you all the relevant information when it comes to a woman's prerogative. Let's welcome her to the program. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hello, really good. And I had a little bit of a chuckle when you said New Zealand.
I can't get out of my head. In my mind, you are still in New Zealand. I don't know why. It's crazy. But
it seems like I have been attached there.
Well, regardless, you are definitely a day ahead of us. So you're a season ahead of us and you're a day ahead of us. But for people who are just joining us for the first time, you and I met when we took a course to become certified as life coaches. And we were put together to do a lot of different role plays. And we just hit it off. And you actually helped me leave my corporate role. I actually worked with you as a coach. You were coaching me so I could leave corporate and go out on my own. So you and I have a long history together. And I really appreciate the fact that we're still here broadcasting all these years later. So Mariska, what were you thinking of when you said being with emotion? And this is the topic I wanted to discuss today.
Well, I was wondering whether you would wonder about the topic, just because, well, sometimes we don't know what's going to come up, right? And I literally left this topic till the very last moment. You asked me earlier in the week and I was sort of going, I don't know yet. And then it just popped into my head. I'm like, well, being with emotion. And when I'm talking about being with emotion, I'm really... The thinking around this topic was, how do we be with it instead of wanting to suppress it, get away from it, remove it in some way, shape, or form, so that we can be with it, get the message that it's trying to give us, and then move to the next thing and most probably the next emotion that's going to come up. Because I think for a lot of us, and I know for me personally, I'm always with the emotion. I want to suppress the emotion. I want to avoid the emotion. I want to do a whole bunch of other things with the emotion. But just sitting with it is not one of them. So hence the being with emotion being a topic. And I would love to hear how it is that you be with your emotions, if you be with your emotions or not. And then we go from there.
Absolutely. And I thank you for coming up with the topic, because with us having so many shows, my brain is literally on overload trying to come up with titles every week for all the shows. So thank you. So when it comes to emotion, I have a process that I use myself and I recommend to my coaching clients that is basically about being aware of what you're feeling, especially if it's one of the lower vibrations and one of the lower energies, and it's maybe anxiety or it's some kind of feeling of negativity. What I do is I sit with it and I time myself. The most I'm going to give myself, if it's the world is coming to an end, is 1 hour. But typically it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So in the 10 or 15, boo-hoo, sob, get really mad, walk around, blow off some steam. And then after that, done. Let it go. And I look for the solution. What is it I can do so that I can come to some kind of closure with whatever it is? Keeping in mind that we cannot change other people's opinions or their behaviors. And that brings me into Mel Robbins, which Mel has not paid me as a spokesperson. Mel, you can find me over on YouTube, okay? I'm right here if you need me. But she has something called the let them theory. So let people think what they're going to think. Let people say what they're going to say. And so when I'm looking for the solution, I know that I can only control myself and my own thoughts and my own actions. So over to you there in the other side of the world. What do you think?
Well, yes, that is typically a process that I would go through as well. And I have noticed for me, sometimes when I get to the end of my 10 minutes, hour, whatever it might be, I haven't really listened to the emotion. So when I'm sitting with the emotion, I'm getting upset, I'm walking around, I might have, as you mentioned, these lower vibration things happening. I might be jealous. I might be embarrassed about something that happened, something I said, and not really realizing what is it that is going on at the bottom of this thing that is causing this thing to come up for me, right? So one of the things that another step that I've included into that is I want to sit with the thing so I can really notice what's the emotion, right? Because for a lot of us, one, we don't have a very big emotional vocabulary. So we might be like angry, sad, happy, like the basic things. Well, we can be a little bit more nuanced with that. So if it is angry, is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it what's the degree to which I am experiencing the emotion that I'm experiencing? And what other words might be able to describe that emotion? And then I want to also uncover, so sitting with it and being with it, uncover what is underneath that. So what is it that is bringing it up? So if it's anger, as an example, I'm angry at somebody because they did something and I feel that I was wronged in some way. Typically, when I start to explore this, and when we explore this in coaching sessions, we find that there's most probably a value that I have that the person didn't notice, or they disregarded it and they stepped on it. Now, values are like little bombs that's hidden everywhere, right? We know where we have hidden them. Nobody else does. So they have a tendency to then come and step on them. Sometimes by accident, and sometimes they do it on purpose. Especially when you have family dynamics, they have a tendency to pick on those places a little bit more on purpose than the rest of the human race. But we get stepped on in our value systems, and that produces a adverse reaction. So we might react a lot more when a value has been triggered than when it's something else. And we might have an anger outburst, or we might get upset and not talk to the person for the next month, whatever the thing is, right? It has a very big impact because it's a value. So I want to discover, this is the emotion, and it's trying to show me something, and I need to be with that emotion so I can see what it is trying to show me. So what is it showing me? And then once I know what it is trying to show me, I can then go into, as you mentioned, Dr. Jacalyn, the solution part of it. What I want to do about it. So if it is an emotion that was triggered because there's a value that was stepped on, right? What do I want to do within this situation? Do I want to maybe put up a boundary to help this other person and myself so that my value isn't triggered again and I don't have this adverse reaction to it? Do I need to, am I embarrassed about the reaction I had, right? Do I feel like I could have handled it better? So there might be a bit of shame around what happened or how it happened. And seeing that I am, the reason it happened was because it was a value that was triggered. For most people, that's what's going to happen, right? It's not uncommon. I'm not special in the sense that I'm the only one where if a value gets triggered, it's going to cause an explosion. That's normal. That's us as humans, we do that. So having that grace for ourselves, especially when we're feeling shame about something, is having the grace for ourselves to be able to accept it for us and see how might we want to change that behavior maybe in future, or what is it that I need to put in place that would help me in my space when I'm interacting with other people. And at the moment, it feels like a talking heads. So, Dr. Jacalyn, with all of that said,
I was going to say, should I leave and come back tomorrow? No, I really appreciated what you shared. And something else I think, just to dovetail on top of that, is you and I do a lot of work on ourselves. We take a lot of courses and we're constantly getting certifications and things. And not everybody's doing this. So not everybody has the skills and tools. So just to break it down for people, your emotions are what they are, right? So obviously identifying what they are, feeling what it is that you feel. But if you find that you're unable to function in a way in which you think is productive or having a high quality of life, there must be something that's going on behind the scenes. And Mariska, you touched on it. And of course, we could talk about a lot of things that really bring up emotions for people. And I know myself, and I've shared this before, but when I was 18, I was raped. And I was told by my family it was my fault because I was underage at a bar. And since then, I have ulcerative colitis for 35 years. And I really believe a lot of that is because I suppressed how I was feeling. So I don't suppress how I'm feeling today in what I'm doing, but I deal with it. And so I have the ability to deal with it a lot differently than I used to, but not everybody has that. So what are your thoughts for people who are watching and they're thinking, yeah, I don't know what the two of these people are saying. I know I feel really excited or I feel really sad. As my father used to say, high highs and low lows. And so today I'm sort of right in the middle. And that's just on being high on life. I don't even drink. I don't do any drugs, no medications, just for my ulcerative colitis. But some people, they go to something to make them smooth out, so to speak, or feel calm. What techniques, what strategies do you have, do you give with your clients so that they can actually start to process feelings?
Well, firstly, it's being aware of it. As you mentioned, sometimes when we aren't with the feeling, if we suppressed it, if we've put it in a bottle, or we try to avoid it in some way, shape, or form, especially the big ones, or the ones that comes up on a regular basis, has a tendency, as you mentioned, Dr. Jacalyn, to show up physically for us, right? So there will be some physical symptom. So for some people, it might be immune diseases. So our immunity attacks us because we are attacking ourselves. We are not listening to what our emotion is trying to help us uncover. So understanding what it is that shows up for you. And if we So one of the things that I've noticed is the longer we don't listen, so emotions are very subtle things. They start with a whisper. And then if you don't listen, they will raise their voice a little bit. And then if you still don't listen, they will raise their voice a little bit more. And if you still don't listen, they might have this adverse reaction that may or may not be helpful in the environment where you are functioning. And if we then still don't listen because we don't want to be with the emotion, it's just disrupting our logic, then it will most probably show up in another way, right? It will start to influence our behaviors, which will impact our relationships. It might start to influence and impact our body. So we might have health conditions that shows up. So understanding that we need to be with the emotion, and I think about it as a door. So if you think about a door, physical door, right? And you standing on the one side and the emotion comes and it knocks, it just gives it like a very light tap first. If I open the door, the emotion will come in. I can be with the emotion. It will convey the message that it needs to convey, and it will leave. No, nothing broken, no upsetness. It's just that. And it doesn't matter which emotion it is, on which vibrational space it is, that's the way that they work. If, however, I decided to keep the door closed, it will knock a little bit louder. So it raises its voice. If I don't open the door, it will start to bang the door down. And if it has to literally break the door to come in, the amount of energy and force that it uses to enter with, it will also exit with the same amount. So it's remembering that I have control of how intense this thing is going to be and feel. So that highs and lows can be really high and very low because of my interaction with the emotion. So first would be creating awareness. I want to be aware when I hear the whisper. Now, for most of us and in society in general, we build a lot of mental capacity, but we do not necessarily build a lot of heart capacity. And when I think about emotion, that's the heart capacity, because that's the piece that's trying to communicate something with us on different levels. Now, because we don't have a lot of heart capacity, we want to avoid it, because I can think my way through this. And I find it a lot with, especially the people that I work with, because I have a lot of engineers and highly qualified people that I work with. So the tendency to want to think their way through it is really good, which means we shut down the body, we shut down the emotions, we don't really be with them. We have a very limited emotional vocabulary, and that makes it really tricky. So I would say first step would be build your awareness on your emotion. I'm not saying cry at everything. Just be aware of what you are feeling. Notice your body, right? Just do that. And sometimes you might say, oh yeah, but I don't feel anything in your body. Then literally take something, and I'm looking for a rock. I have a rock. There you go. Take a rock. Take something heavy enough that you can put in your hand, and just notice what it feels like in your hand, right? Start with that. And then once you have cultivated some awareness for yourself, you will start to notice more things. And it doesn't mean that you are becoming more sensitive. You are just normalizing your own place of equilibrium again, so that you are not only in your head, but you can also utilize the rest of you, because you are not a head on a stick. You are a head with a body and the rest of your soul and emotions. So that's where I would start. How about you, Dr. Jacalyn?
I think that's a good place to start. I think also, I'm very big on inner peace. And so I teach a lot of courses and workshops about finding peace. And when we don't acknowledge our feelings, in my opinion, when we don't process them in some way, it shows up in some other way. And we can see it all over social media. We can see all of the anger. I mean, frequently when we're broadcasting, people will just put comments that have nothing to do with the show, and they're just filled with anger. And I always give them grace because I know there's something else that's coming up for them. And it's the same thing when we're in a relationship. If we haven't dealt with our feelings, then our thoughts, our comments might come across in a way that is confrontational, or that is absolutely not listening to what the other person has to say, because we have so much going on inside of ourselves and we haven't dealt with it. And it's almost like that old expression from when I was growing up, a hot potato. You take the potato, it's like, oh, it's hot. You toss it to the other person. Right. Good catch. Because we haven't dealt with whatever it is that's going on with us. And that affects our ability to listen. So I feel like, especially with what's going on in the world today, it seems like it's so unique. It seems like it's so different. And in some ways, I guess it is. If my parents were still alive, they would say when in their generation, they saw so much, and their grandparents would say. And so there's always something that's going on. And so for me, what I really want is for each and every one of us to find inner peace, but it actually starts with acknowledging that there's work to be done. And so if you are a person and you find yourself, you're posting things on social media that are just filled with hate, you're intentionally being unkind to people, what's coming up for you? What is going on in your life? And many times it can be fear. You're afraid of something, or you don't feel like you're in control of something. So what comes across is, instead of that vulnerability, instead of that heart space that you mentioned earlier, it comes across from an ego place, which is anger and aggression. And that's really not serving you. And I have no judgment about it, but I did write a book about judgment. And a lot of times, some of these unprocessed feelings can come across in passive aggressive behavior, that we start to really be so unkind to someone else because we're really suffering ourselves.
Yeah, it makes me think of people having a tendency to want somebody else to suffer because they are suffering. It's like, I will poke you with this stick because I've been poked with a stick. Now you both just miserable. That doesn't.
Yes, that misery loves company.
Yes, misery does love company.
But when you give someone else grace, when someone wrongs you and you actually give them grace, and, it's a perfect example. I just saw something on social media about a flight that someone was on, and the woman had her headphones on for longer than 30 seconds or something. And I guess, I'm just surmising, I guess they asked her a couple of times and she, finally put her headphones away. But all we have to do is just say, you're right, I'm sorry, put them away. But instead we feel like, okay, they're taking something away from me. It's my right to use the headphones. And then people start getting involved, and then people are filming it. And before you know it, it becomes a much bigger thing. The woman's escorted off the plane. She's arrested. And so I think to myself, well, where did things start to go awry? Well, when she was asked to put her headphones away, I'm sure she felt some way about that. She didn't like it, obviously. I know for me, I'd be like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Let me put them away as quickly as possible, because I don't want to derail the flight. But sometimes people don't feel like that. They feel like their rights are being questioned. And so she decided to do something about it. And then people who were near her, they decided to get involved, and then so on and so on and so on. Of course, then the flight's not leaving, someone's arrested. And it all started with someone's feelings about something and the inability to process it in a healthy way, in my opinion.
Yeah. And in a healthy way, I think, is the underscore of being with our emotion. You are constantly processing your emotions, right? Whether you are putting it in a bottle or not, you are processing it in some way, shape, or form. And if we don't listen to it, we still process it. They go and sit in our body in some place, or they ruin relationships, or they end us up in jail, because we've processed it in a way that's not generative and that's not helpful for us or the rest of society. And I think that's something that, Dr. Jacalyn, that as you've given that example, it's like, yeah, we need to look, and we need to look at ourselves first. As you mentioned at the beginning, we cannot control anyone else, right? I know some people are in the delusion that they might be able to control others. And yes, if you have a 2-year-old, you may or may not be able to control some of what they are doing or not doing. Try explaining that to a parent that has a 2-year-old that's throwing a tantrum. Not as easy to control as you think. So we have this illusion that we can control things, but really the only thing we can control is us. We can control ourselves. We can control our own reactions to whatever is happening in our environment. And that's what makes the difference. As you said, Dr. Jacalyn, just putting the headphones away, right? It's like, you know what? I'm on a plane with a bunch of other people, and we all want to get to the other side safely, and we all want to do that in one piece. And part of that is I need to listen through the safety instructions, right? Because God forbid, if the plane does go down for whatever reason, at least I know what to do. It's not to say that I will do it because I might be stressed, but I have some instructions of what it might look like. And get it over and done with. It's what? Those instructions are 5 minutes, if it's that long. And hopefully you have a fun airline attendant that makes it interesting while you are looking. And if not, then read through the pamphlet. You'll be wiser for it.
Absolutely. I think what we're talking about now really is setting boundaries. So it's okay for us to feel what it is we want to feel. But when we start letting what we feel infringe upon somebody else's rights, then there's got to be a boundary. And to me, that shows respect for yourself and respect for other people. And I've said this before, but the word no is actually an entire sentence. You can say no, you can say no, thank you. You can say I'm not interested, not now. You can say no in so many ways that are still respectful. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you should start screaming and yelling and throwing a tantrum. And I see so many people doing this, even on social media. It's like they become a child. They cannot control their emotions because they haven't learned how to process them in a healthy way. So that's what I would hope for everyone, is that you try some breathing exercises, yoga, meditation, affirmations. You seek help from a professional. You look at self-help videos, books, etc. There's so many ways. Or talk to someone who really knows how to process their emotions and ask for them to help you. Ask for a mentor. So what I'm finding is that when we learn how to process our emotions, we are not so easily brought into what I call the fire by what someone else does. And I'll give an example. So as we talked earlier, we can't control what someone says or does. And so we're on a live TV show right now. We've gotten a lot of comments, and we don't have time to bring them all up, but thank you to those of you who are commenting. But some people have things to say that are not that nice. Some people have things to say that are constructive. And so the people who don't have anything to say that are nice, I don't let that bother me. I don't take that in. We're doing a professional live television show that, we're out here bringing education. And for people who don't like that, go somewhere else. Find something else to do. Go watch something else that brings you joy. But I won't let it impact me. And so when I see someone who is negative or who is angry, I just give them grace. Because if we take it internally, then it starts to impact our decisions and it can impact our health. So I always say, give the person grace because we don't know what they're going through.
Yes. I mean, we don't know what their journey is. We don't know what the system of balancing and regulating the emotions may or may not be, right? There might not be a system. We don't all have the same upbringing, examples, all the rest of it in life to be able to handle things the same. And that's part of the learning. So understanding that we need to give each other grace, give ourselves grace because we are human, I don't know about you, Dr. Jacalyn, but I have not grown my wings in my little halo yet.
I don't
Still
see
on the earth
that.
plane. I know it might look like that, but we're still here, right? So I'm still learning. I'm going to mess up, right? So I need to give myself grace that I will mess up. I don't have all the solutions and answers to everything in life yet. That's why I'm here. I'm here to learn how to actually do those things. And that's the same for everyone else on this planet. Everyone else has the same thing. We have strengths and we have stuff that we are still learning and trying to figure out. So giving me grace for myself and my own stuff, and then giving other people grace for their stuff, and seeing how I can, if and where possible, I can help out, then wonderful. And if and where not possible, then I will wish them that they get the guidance and the growth that they need as it is required for them and to their highest good. Right. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. That's it.
Well said.
And you don't even need to say it out loud. You can just say it in your head. It's like, yep.
Well, I have 3 questions that I like to always share with people before we speak, before we text, before we write, before we WhatsApp, before we messenger, before we leave a voicemail message. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Is what you're about to convey, is it kind? Is it necessary? And is it true? And there's always a caveat when it comes to is it true? Because we as humans have a way of manipulating the truth to what we see as the truth. And I've shared this example with you before, I believe. But an example would be person A is married or is in a relationship, goes to work, comes home, and the person waiting for them has cooked dinner and says, I called you numerous times. You didn't answer the phone. You're late. What's going on? And the person says, well, you know what? I went to the library. So the other person says, you went to the library. Why couldn't you pick up the phone? I didn't hear it. It was on silent. What books did you get? I didn't get any books, et cetera, but I did stop at the library. But what they didn't mention was they also stopped at a bar to see their friends. But they went to the library. They did stop by the library. Maybe they did a drive around around the library parking lot. So they told some part of the truth, but they did not tell the entire part. And so that's how we start to manipulate things. But I give these 3 questions because if what you're about to share meets these 3 criteria, then there's a good opportunity or chance for you to have a meaningful connection or conversation with someone else. But if what you're about to say is nasty, if you decide to insult someone, and by the way, name calling, no. Name calling is never appropriate. If I use a word and I label you as something, the only thing you can feel is pain, and you have to defend yourself. And so now, how can I have a good relationship with you when I insulted you? That wasn't kind, and it wasn't necessary, and it's certainly not even true. Because what one person's perspective is and what the actual truth is are 2 different things. And I want to share this, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. There is a game called 2 Truths and a Lie. And I remember when I was in corporate for about 28 years. One of my clients answered something that I shared. So I shared 3 things about myself. I said I was captain of the cheerleaders, I was captain of the tennis team, and I was in the National Honor Society. So he processed this information and he said, yeah, the cheerleaders, yes. The tennis, yes. National Honor Society, no, because I don't think you're that intelligent. So I was in the National Honor Society. And at the time I had a bachelor's, a master's, and I have a doctorate. And so he didn't actually believe that I was that intelligent, but he believed that I was captain of the cheerleading. And I've never been a cheerleader in my entire life. So at that time, at that moment, I felt really hurt because I thought even the way he conveyed it today, I would just be like, I don't have time for you. You can think whatever you want. I have my degrees. I'm in Wharton right now. So my point is, people can think whatever it is they want to think, but we don't have to take it on. We don't have to wear it like a badge of pain or a badge of dishonor. We can just say, you know what, that's what he thinks, and that's coming from his perspective. And I can choose to engage, to not engage, have a relationship, not have a relationship, because I get a choice.
Yeah. And it also, it is what he thinks, right? It says, so the two truths in a line actually says more about the other person's way of thinking and viewing the world than it does about us. Yes, there's a little bit of it is a game, right? So we try to see how we can trip the other person up to a degree. And as you said, captain of cheerleading and captain of tennis. It's like, okay, you look like you can be the captain of both of those things, which also to me, I mean, if he wanted to be kind, he could have said, I think it's this one and this one, because I think you have good leadership skills. Right? He didn't have to say,
I'm really torn because I think all three of them are probably correct. But instead, he basically said I wasn't intelligent. And I thought that was funny coming from him. So
it's just like, okay, that's an odd thing to say. Why would you answer it that way? There's so many other, to your point, is it kind? Okay, so is the answer that I'm giving kind, right? Is it required? So do I need to validate why I'm saying the other thing, or why I'm choosing the ones that I'm choosing? And is it true? I don't know, right? It's a game. I don't know whether it's true or not. It's my perception.
Yeah, and the whole point of that game really is it's an icebreaker to bring people together so you learn things. You actually tell people things about yourself that you want them to know, and you throw the third thing in there. So I think for our audience today, it's basically about being aware of what you're feeling and then doing something with those feelings, acknowledging them and processing them. I don't mean on any level whatsoever that you should bury your head, pretend they don't exist, work yourself to death. Just do something that you're not even dealing with it, because it's going to come up later. It's going to show up one way or another later. It could come up as passive aggressive behavior. It could come up as health issues. So we have to actually deal with it. And sometimes it really does help to talk to someone if the person is going to listen. If they're not really completely present and listening, many times what you're going to get are a few things. And you know this because we've talked about elevated listening. You're going to get someone who's trying to solve a problem. You know, Mariska, what I think you need is this. You didn't ask me for my opinion. You just wanted me to listen. And then the next thing is a judgment. I told you not to do that. I knew you were going to fail at that. You're never any good at that. You don't want that. And then the third thing is when you tell me something that happened to you, and then I tell you, oh, you know what? You think that's bad? Let me tell you what happened to me today. I mean, well, you're still sitting there. Hey, I really want to share. So if you can find someone in your life who really is truly, completely able to be present and not judge what you have to say so that you can get your feelings out, that's outstanding. If you can't, and you have the ability, the time and the money that you can hire someone to listen, that's phenomenal. But for most people, we have to do it by ourselves. And doing it by ourselves means we have to have tools that we can use to process the information, because otherwise we are taking it out on other people, whether we realize it or not. We might even be taking it out on ourselves. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I just had the email that I was reading, actually, and somebody invited me to share a little bit about my journey within my building my business and how it works. And I know as soon as the thought came up, it's like, what the hell's happening? And yet the thought came up, am I really the person to share any of this information with anyone? Because I'm still trying to figure it out for myself. I don't know whether I've learned or grown or done all of these extraordinary things. They don't feel extraordinary to me. So I've been spiraling a little bit into that negative thinking space, right? Through a very innocent question that the person asked me to be part of a panel. And that's what can happen with emotion. So now I'm having this emotional reaction to it, right? And I need to sit with that to sort of go, okay, so what is it that's actually going on? Because there's an emotional reaction to it. And typically that's not the way that I have cultivated my thinking. And yet I know that it did come up from time to time in the past. So maybe there's still something there that's stuck, that needs to be released. So understanding that whatever it may show up for us as us blaming ourselves, us being down on ourselves, us having negative thoughts about what we've been through, belittling ourselves. I've seen that with quite a few of especially my experts. Some of them will be like, wow, this isn't rocket science. This isn't world changing. I'm only like, yeah, do you know how important that only is? Because you are only doing that one little thing, right? That makes an impact on so many other people and in so many other lives. If you didn't do that one thing, the thing will fall apart. It is important. Might not feel like a world-changing thing, but every single small little thing that we do is important in the grand scheme of things. And when we hear ourselves do that, we need to stop and then go, okay, so what's the emotion? What's happening? Why is this thing coming up? This specific way of thinking. And it takes practice. Like with anything, it takes practice to catch them. But once you become aware of them, you can catch them. And once you've caught them, you can see what the emotion is. And then you can go through the steps so that you can actually work through it and be with the emotion so you can change it into something else that is a more healthy approach to whatever the action or reaction it is that we want to give. So that's what I have on that, Dr. Jacalyn. How about you? What do you have?
I think that's a terrific place to start. And I think also looking at our own environment. Are we in an environment that we've created that is conducive to peace? Are we surrounding ourselves with people who support us or people who bring us down? And what are we actually putting into our bodies? What are we actually watching and listening? I know some people who only watch the news. The news is on constantly. And the news is upsetting in many ways. I mean, rarely are they covering positive stories. I know just from watching some reality TV shows that when they have somebody that they bring into the network, that they give them the feel-good stories like the chimp at the zoo or whatever the thing is. But most of the stories are the hardcore stories that are about crime and about things that are upsetting to people, because the negativity draws people in, and it also starts fueling our own fears. And so when we live in a world where we constantly are making decisions, we don't need to surround ourselves with negativity. So I know for me, I do not have cable television. I only watch streaming. I've got 4 TVs and only one of them is even hooked up, and it has, and it's only streaming. So for me, I'm not interested in any of that. I live a very peaceful life. And I just want to share this because I think it's really important. I have a very peaceful life. I only eat foods that are natural, that are healthy. And so I just had a colonoscopy, 35 years of ulcerative colitis. And the doctor said last week after the colonoscopy I had the year before, which was the worst I've ever had, I'm on the watch list for you know what, I'm not going to say because I've had the disease for so long, but he said my intestines had no inflammation in them and that they were healed. And so I know that that's a result of the choices that I have made in living a peaceful lifestyle. So if you're not living a peaceful lifestyle, if you don't actually think it's possible, you have to find out what is at the root cause. What is the fear that you have? What will you have to let go of? What relationships will you have to say goodbye to? What will you have to stop eating or drinking, watching or listening to in order to find peace? Amen. That is all I have to say about this for right now.
I love it because our environment changes so much around us, right? We have the internal environment that you are constantly exposed to because you live with yourself. You cannot get away from yourself, literally. So we have that environment, but we also have our external environment. And the beauty of it is we can change both of them. The internal one takes our own personal growth and work. And the external one also takes some personal growth and work so that we can include in that the things we want and exclude out of that the things we don't want. And Dr. Jacalyn, as for news-related stuff, typically I also avoid it like the plague. I get too upset about things that happen in the world. I know that they happen. I do not put my head in the sand and go, la, 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 I don't know what's happening. I do know what's happening, but I get it secondhand through other people that also has connection into areas where it might be relevant for them. So that's the way that I typically filter my news. And then if it is something that's really important that I need to know about, I will interact with it sparingly. And then afterwards, clear my own energy so that I don't carry that with me all the time. So understanding what it is that we need to keep peace inside when we are interacting with the outside is very, very helpful. And when we are not sensitive to these things, if we just the head and none of the rest, we don't know. So we need to build some awareness around it and see how it actually makes us feel. If you were to take an experiment and cut news out of your day for 3 days in a row in a week.
Absolutely. Or read the news. You can read it at your leisure. You can read as much as you want. You can just get the main gist of it. You don't have to be drawn into it and reprocess it over and over again. Even for people who are living through it, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to constantly have it as top of mind because, again, we always have to find what are the solutions. Regardless of what we're going through, there is some kind of solution. And even when we go down a path that is not possibly the best path for us, it's the one we chose, there's always something to learn, and we can take those learnings and apply it. And one of the things that I've learned is that we are way over time to deliver this content to our distributors. So Mariska, what is the best way for people to reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
So if you are a leader, whether you are stepping into leadership from a specialization or you are stepping up in your leadership space, and you are leading more teams, different teams in different spaces, that's where I help. And I help you to bring more humanness into your work environment. Yes, we are humans. We are not robots. So being able to tap into our full capability as humans are really important. And as leaders, being able to enable our teams to do that is really important. So you can get hold of me via my website. You will see there on the screen, there's a contact me form that you can fill in. Or alternatively, you can also get me on my email, which is Mariska, Mariska, at journey, JOURNEY, 2, discover, DISCOVER.com. So that's my email address. Or you can also find me on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, it's nice and easy. You can send me a direct message and we can start our conversation from there. So there's a couple of ways to reach me, whether you are new in leadership or stepping into it.
Thank you very much, my dear friend. I appreciate you sharing this topic and this space with me. I wish you a beautiful Friday, the rest of your Friday there. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.
Me too. Bye-bye
Bye
for now.
All right, as we close out, I just have a couple of announcements. The first one is if you are watching us anywhere aside from YouTube, please go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channels. We have 2 channels, USA Global TV and Radio, where we have earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award. It is right here next to me on our desk, and that is for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. I think it's 108,000 now. And Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, which we started a couple of years later, and I think we're just at 38,000 there. Also, I have some new books that are coming out. So if you don't know, I am an author. I've written, I think, 28 books so far in the last 4 years. These are my new books that are coming out. My business book, Stop Giving Away Your Value, Boundaries, Pricing, and the Business of Respect. This is on pre-order right now. And I also have a course by the same name. So for any of you out there, entrepreneurs who have your own business and you are constantly giving everything away for free, stop doing it. It's good to have something for free, but you've got to be able to convert your clients so that they're there for the long term, because you're actually bringing something that makes a difference to them. My next book that is coming out is from the series Lady Ella, and she's with her brother Jack, Lord Jack. So Lady Ella is a ladybug and Lord Jack is a dragonfly, and they actually represent my great niece and my great nephew. And they are traveling to the alleys of Greece where they will see a bunch of cats. I was in Greece twice over the summer, and that's what prompted me to write this book. So it's all about listening. It's all about kindness. It's all about helping others. And my third book that is coming out is called My Tummy Hurts, A Kid's Guide to Belly Aches and Bathroom Troubles. And I'm just going to spotlight this one because I am actually on the board of the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, and I will be at the Take Steps Walk at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia in May, and I will be signing this book. So if you know of anyone who has ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease or IBD, any children, please do pick up a copy of this book. It's all about a little girl named Jackie, and that would be me, and the story that I went through with ulcerative colitis. It's not an easy journey, but I help people through that book there as well as the others. So thank you again for being here. We're going to sign off. My last plug is to pick up a copy of one of my books, which is Holy But Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment, How Hidden Judgments Destroy Relationship and Damage Lives, and Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening, which is a book and a subsequent course and workbooks that I've taught in Zambia, London, Greece, and the United States, and still counting. Happy to teach it wherever it is that you are. Reach out. Contact details are there in the show notes. Thank you again. We're signing off for now. Our next show is coming right up. Bye for now.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions, designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacalyn.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.